Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a spirit deck profile. So I'm really excited to do something for you guys because spirits are a really cool type of monster that actually return back to your hand during the end phase of the turn they're summoned, which is absolutely insane and just a really cool effect. They have some absolutely broken abilities, so without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Lord of Swords. This card is really amazing as a boss monster because it can actually reset the entire duel. This card is the ability it cannot be special summoned, and you can tribute summon this card by tributing 1 normal summon or set monster. And if this card is normal summoned or flip face up, you activate the effect that your opponent can send any number of cards from their field to the graveyard. Then each player draws the same number of cards as were sent to the graveyard by this effect. And during the end phase of the turn this card or this effect was activated, you shuffle all cards into the deck from the cards on the field, graveyard, and that are banished, which is an insane effect that it basically resets the entire duel besides the cards that are in your hand. And it also has the ability once per turn during the end phase, if this card is on the field and it was normal summoned or flip face up this turn, return it back to your hand, just like all of the rest of your spirit monsters. This card is insane that it resets the duel and is just a really cool 2-up boss monster. We then play a single copy of Hino Kagasuchi. This card is really cool as a 1-up in the deck because this card has a really insane ability. If this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent's life points, then your opponent must discard all cards from their hand during the next draw phase before they draw, which is a broken effect. We then play a single copy of Yamada Dragon. Yamada Dragon is actually my favorite of all the spirit monsters, and definitely comment down below what your favorite spirit monster is. If this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent's life points, then you draw until you have 5 cards in your hand, which is an insane ability just to draw that many cards. We then play 3 copies of Izanagi. Izanagi is really cool as a 3-of and is actually not a spirit monster, which is really cool. You can actually special summon this card from your hand by banishing a spirit monster from your hand, and then spirit monsters that you control do not have their effects to return back to the hand activated. So you just get to keep them on your side of the field, and it's really insane when you do because they have broken abilities. We then play 3 copies of Amano Iwado. Amano Iwado is probably one of the most broken spirit monsters in the entire game. It can't be special summoned, and monsters cannot activate their effects except for spirit monsters, meaning it is a one-sided skill drain for our opponent. And also, once per turn during the end phase, if this card was normal summon or flip face up this turn, return it back to your hand. We then play 3 copies of Aratama. Aratama is definitely a 3-of in the build because this card is insane in the deck, because if it's normal summon, you actually get to add a spirit monster from your deck to your hand. We then play 3 copies of Nikitama. Nikitama is also definitely a 3-of in the build because this card gives us an additional normal summoner set of one of our spirit monsters, making it really easy to summon out our copy of Lord of Swords. We then play 2 copies of Sakitama. I feel like 2 is really all you need because it is searchable in the deck, but it has a really cool ability that you reveal this card in your hand, and immediately as effect results, you get to normal summon a spirit monster from your hand, which is a really cool ability. And if this card is tributed, you can target a spirit monster in the grave and add it back to your hand, which is an insane ability because we tribute summon in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Kono. Kono is an extender in the deck, which is why we play this card as a 3-of in the build. It must be special summoned from your hand by controlling a spirit monster, which is a really cool ability just to use this card. And if this card is special summoned by its own effect, return it back to the hand, which is a really cool ability, just return it back to the hand during end phase. And once per turn during the end phase, you can actually banish this card from the graveyard to target a spirit monster you control, and neither player can activate that face-up monster's effects on the field for the rest of the turn, which is a really cool ability. We then play some very old school spirit monsters, starting out with Azura Priest. Azure Priest is really cool because this card can attack all monsters that your opponent controls once each. One copy of Rasetsu. Rasetsu is a really cool bounce for the deck. I really like that about this card because it has the ability, when this card is normal summon or flip face up, you can reveal a spirit monster from your hand, except a copy of Rasetsu, and then target a face-up attack position monster your opponent controls and return that target back to the hand. We then play a single copy of Tsukuyomi. Tsukuyomi is really cool because this card is Walking Book of Moon, which is really an awesome ability. And then finally, we play a single copy of Yatagarasu. You guys know it was coming. Yatagarasu is a 1-of in the build. It's just really good because you can actually Yata lock your opponent, because if this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, skip the draw phase of the next turn, which is really insane to basically skip your opponent's draw phase, and it's a really cool spirit monster in the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing is really good as a 1-of in the deck. So we do play a lot of level 4s in the form of Aratama, Sakitama, and Nikitama, making it really easy to make a copy of Utopia Double, to then make a copy of Utopia by detaching material, search Double or Nothing from deck to hand, off with a copy of Utopia Double. Utopia comes out at 5,000 attack points. You can then swing, detach material to negate its own attack, drop Double or Nothing, and swing again for 10,000 attack points. And if you attack into a monster that has 2,000 or less attack points with that copy of Utopia Double, you will win the game because it does a perfect 8,000 damage. But it's really cool to be able to use in this deck because it's so easy to pull off the OTK. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires is really cool as a 3-of in the build because you banish 10 cards from the top of your deck to draw 2, and it's great in this particular build because of Lord of Swords will actually reset those banished cards, so it's like you never paid the cost, which is really nice. We then play 3 copies of Time Tearing Morganite. Time Tearing Morganite is really cool in this deck because we don't really special summon that much or activate monsters' effects in the hands, which is why we don't play any hand traps in the deck. But this card has the ability that you can activate this card for the rest of the duel. You get these effects. That you cannot activate monster effects in the hand, which is not that big of a deal. It does kind of turn off our copy of Sakitama, but that's why I play that card at 2. And it has the ability you draw 2 cards instead of 1 during your normal draw, during your draw phase, and you can conduct 2 normal summons or sets, not just 1 per turn, which is a really cool ability to use with this card because all of our spirit monsters want to be normal summoned out to our side of the field for the most part, which is really cool because we actually tribute summon in the deck, so it makes it very easy to tribute summon out the monsters that we want to. We then play 3 copies of Mirror of Yata. Yata is really cool in the deck as a 3-of because this card has the ability to equip it only to a spirit monster, and the equipped monster does not have its effects to activate that returns it back to the hand, activate, which is a really cool ability, and if the monster would be destroyed by battle, destroy this card instead. So if you tribute summon out one of your large spirit monsters, you can just equip it with Mirror of Yata and keep it on your side of the field, which is really cool to be able to use with your copy of Hinokami Tsuchi or a copy of Yamada Dragon, which is just amazing. So that's it for our spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, guys, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Storming Mirror Force. Storming Mirror Force is really good in this deck because when your opponent attacks, you can actually return all of your opponent's attack with your monsters back to the hand. And then since our monsters do return back to the hand, we are also playing 3 copies of Drowning Mirror Force. Drowning Mirror Force is a must 3-of in the deck. Is when your opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you shuffle all attack position monsters your opponent controls back into their deck, which is insane to be able to do, and I love that about Drowning Mirror Force in this deck because our spirit monsters do return back to the hand, so a lot of times you won't have a monster on the field, so you just set this to your side of the field, your opponent thinks they're safe, and they swing in, and you bounce all their monsters back into the deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra guys, we're going to start with a single copy of Bagooska. Bagooska is really good as a 1-F in the build, just to basically use this card to slow down the game. We then play a single copy of Time Thief Redoer. Redoer is really good in the deck because it's really insane as a rank 4 and just helps us go in for so many cool plays, attaching cards off the top of your opponent's deck to this card as a material. We then play a single copy of Number 60. Number 60 is great because it lets us draw 2 and discard a card. It lets us bring back a monster from the graveyard in defense, or it lets us double the attack of a monster on the field to help us go in for game. We then play a single copy of Utopia Double. Utopia Double is insane because you can detach a material from this card and then search Double or Nothing, then overlay a copy of Utopia on top of your copy of Utopia Double, and then swing, detach a material from your copy of Utopia to negate its own attack, drop Double or Nothing, and then swing back in for 10,000 attack points. We then play a single copy of Utopia the Lightning, just in case we banish our copy of our Double or Nothing. And it's just really good to be able to make because it does come out at 5,000 attack points. We then play a single copy of Typhon. Typhon's insane as a 1-Up because this card is just really good in the deck to be able to make. It's just really good in just about any deck. Play a single copy of Double A Zeus. Double A Zeus is really good to be able to make on top of any of our XZs as a board wipe. One copy of Access Code Talker because we can pop multiple cards on the field with this card and it comes out absolutely massive. One copy of Appaloosa for monster negates. One copy of Nightmare Unicorn to spin stuff. Our copy of our Dark Charmer because we do play Darks in the deck, so this card is really nice to be able to use. One copy of Nightmare Phoenix to pop spells and traps. One copy of SP Little Knight because this card is a double interruption, and you can make this card fairly easy in the build. If you don't want to play this card, you can play Nightmare Cerberus in the deck. You can play another rank 4 in the build like Abyss Dweller, Tornado Dragon, any of those cards that you want to over this card because this card is a little bit expensive right now, so you can change it out for a copy of Tornado Dragon, Abyss Dweller, or any other of your link monsters like Nightmare Cerberus, but it's a double interruption if you have it. We then finally play a single copy of IP. IP is really good in the deck because it helps us make SP Little Knight or a copy of Nightmare Unicorn during the opponent's turn. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Spirit deck before, you should definitely give this build a try because I really love playing Spirits, and it's just so cool because back in the day, I pulled all the old Spirit cards out of packs, which is really, really cool, and I love the Spirit monsters because they're so awesome. So that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next so you can become part of the notification squad, and see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.